Chapter 25 of The Clue of the New Pin by Edgar Wallace. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Yoganand. The Clue of the New Pin. Chapter 25. Rex was home. His telegram handed in at the docks preceded him only by half an hour, and his thunderous knock at the door and his long and continuous peal on the bell told Tab the identity of the impatient caller long before he had thrown open the door and gripped the hand of the returned traveller. "Yes, I'm back," said Rex heartily as he dropped himself into a chair and fanned himself with his hat. He was looking thinner, a little more peaked of face, but the colour of health was on his cheeks and his eyes were bright. "You'll have to put me up, old man," he said. "I simply will not go to an hotel while you have an available bed in the flat. And besides, I want to tell you something about my plans for the future." "Before we start dreaming," said Tab, "listen to a little bit of sordid reality. You've been burgled, my lad." "Burgled?" said Rex incredulously. "How do you mean, Tab? I left nothing to be burgled." "You left a couple of trunks, which have been thoroughly and scientifically examined by somebody who has got a grudge against you." "Good God," said Rex. "Did they find the key?" "I only saw the story of the second murder when I landed." "You did leave the key in the trunk?" Rex nodded. "I left it in a box, a small wooden box with a sliding lid. There were two of these boxes, I remember, one in each trunk. They were compass boxes." "Then they were the object of the visit. Why he should mutilate poor me I find it difficult to explain." He told Rexlander what happened on the night of the second burglary, and Rex listened fascinated. "I've lost all the fun being away," he grumbled. "So poor old Brown was the victim, eh? And we thought he was a murderer. And Carver, what has he got to say about it?" "Carver's rattled, but mysterious," said Tab. Rex was deep in thought. "I'm going to have that strong room bricked up," he said. "I made up my mind while I was in the ship. Anyway, I don't suppose anybody will want to buy the beastly place, and I shall have it on my hands for years. But I'll take pretty good care that tragedy number 2 doesn't become tragedy number 3. "Why not remove the door?" suggested Tab, but Rex shook his head. "I won't have the wall turned into a showpiece," he said quietly. "Besides, it'll likely enough stop a good sale. My own inclinations are to pull the house down and have it rebuilt, dig it out from the foundation to roof and start fresh. But I don't think that even that would induce me to go and live there," he said. "Poor old Jessie's blood would rise up from the ground and find us wherever we are. There's a curse upon the house," he went on solemnly. "Some evil spirit seems to brood over it and inspire innocent men to these hideous crimes." Tab stared at him in amazement. "Babe," he said, "you've got poetical. I guess that is the air of Italy." Rex went red, as he always did when he was embarrassed. "I feel very strongly about the house," he said curtly, and Tab saw that he had hurt his feelings. But Rex's huff did not last long. He spoke of his voyage, the interesting places he had seen, and then, "You got my ring?" "Yes, Rex, thank you. It's a beauty," said Tab. "It seems to me to be worth a terrible lot of money." "It didn't cost so much," said the other carelessly. "I've got a rich way of thinking nowadays, Tab. I shudder at myself sometimes." They fell to discussing Rex's immediate movements, and Tab succeeded in persuading him to go to the hotel. He had a reason for this. Knowing the lazy nature of his former companion, he guessed that if Rex once got himself settled down in the flat, he would never leave it. Rex questioned him closely about the second tragedy, plying him with innumerable questions. "Yes, I shall certainly have that place bricked up. I'll put it in the hands of the builders right away," he said. "And as you decided to chuck me out, perhaps you will come and dine pretty frequently?" He sent for his trunks the following day and made a call upon Carver. Tab heard later that under the personal directions of Rex, all the deed boxes and other movables in the vault had been removed by a gang of workmen, and that immediate preparations were being made to wall up the sinister chamber. It was like Rex to take up with enthusiasm some unexpected hobby. Carver told him, when next they met, that Rex haunted the builder's yard, was having elaborate plans drawn for a new house, and was himself entering with enthusiasm into the mysteries of mortar making and bricklaying. "In fact," said Tab, "poor Rex is making himself an infernal nuisance. He has these spasms. About 3 years ago he decided, in defiance of his uncle's intentions, to become a great crime reporter, and spent so much time in the megaphone library that the news editor kicked. Whenever he wanted a book, Rex had it. Whenever he wanted to look up some old and forgotten crime, there was Rex in the midst of a chaos of cuttings. The present fit will last exactly 3 weeks. After that, Rex will buy a large hammock and a large bed, and spend his time alternatively in one or the other. Tab did not see Ursula, our friend, for a week. He wrote to her once, for he was a little worried, remembering a fainting fit on her last night at the theatre, but he received a reassuring, indeed a flippant message from Stone Cottage. I've come back here, and am entrenched against all mysterious men in black, with an aged but active butler who has served in the army, and is acquainted with the use of lethal weapons. The late roses are out. Won't you come and see them? They are glorious, and Yearling's Temple of Peace is roofed with shining red tiles, and the villagers are breathing freely again at the prospect of his queer little labourers leaving the neighbourhood. I drove over there yesterday and found Yearling very sombre and quiet, watching the final touches being put on what looked like to be a huge barrel, but which I found was the mould in which the second of his great pillars is to be cast. It's a pillar of grateful recollection, or something of the sort, and it is to be dedicated to me. I feel thrilled. It's hard to believe that all these years Yearling has remembered the trifling services I gave to his son, and isn't it curious that in all those years, although I've met him many times, for I used to dine regularly at his restaurant, I dined there this week, he has never made one reference to the old days. It's a little eerie, isn't it? I'm learning to shoot. Forgive this inconsequence, but my butler, how grand that sounds, is very insistent, and I practiced every day in the meadows behind the house. I had no idea that a revolver was so very heavy, or jumps so when you press the trigger, and the noise is appalling. I was scared almost to death the first day of the practice, but I'm getting quite used to it now, and Turner says I shall make a crack shot. If you come, you will not lack for excitement. Personally, I should have preferred that Turner would have given me lessons in archery. It's much more graceful and ladylike. Every time the pistol fires, it's an automatic, it blackens my hands horribly, and it stinks. Tab read the letter through very many times before he took the Hartford road. He stopped en route to admire the monument which Yearling had erected to his prosperity. He could admire in all sincerity, for the house presented not only a striking but a beautiful appearance. Its unusual lines, the quaint setting in which it stood, for the garden had now taken shape, the one lusty pillar that flanked the broad yellow path, made a striking picture. The workman had not gone, and presently spied Yearling himself coming down the broad, short flight of steps from the upper terrace. If he did not distinguish him at first, it was excusable, for he wore the blue blouse and baggy trousers of his workman, but Yearling had seen him, and came straight to where he was standing. "You have nearly finished," said Tab with a smile of greeting. "I congratulate you, Yearling." "You think it is pretty?" said Yearling in his grave, cultured voice. "I've had the best builder I can get from China, and I have not stinted him. Some day, perhaps, you will come and see the interior." "What are you doing now?" asked Tab. "In a few days we shall cast a second pillar," said Yearling, "and then the work is finished. You think I'm at heart a barbarian?" Yearling seldom smiled, but now his pale lips curled momentarily. "And you will take these pillars as proof?" "I wouldn't say that," began Tab. "Because you are so polite, Mr. Holland," said Yearling. "But then, you see, we look at things from a different angle. I think your church steeples are ridiculous. Why is it necessary to stick a great stone spike onto a building to emphasize your reverence?" He searched in his blouse and brought out a gold cigarette case and offered it to Tab. Then he lit a cigarette himself, inhaled deeply before he sent a blue cloud into the still air. "My pillar of grateful memories will have a greater significance than your steeples," he said, "than all your stained glass windows. It is to me what your war memorial crosses are to you, a concrete symbol, literally concrete, of an intangible sentiment." "You are a Taoist?" asked Tab, interested. Yearling shrugged his shoulders. "I am a believer in God," he said, "in X, in something beyond definition. Churches and sects, religions of all kinds are monopolies. God is like the water that flows down the mountainside and fills the brooks and the rivers. There come certain men who bottle the waters, some in ugly bottles, some in beautiful bottles, and these bottles they sell, saying that only this water will quench your thirst. That it does quench thirst we will not deny, but the water is often a little stale and flat, and the sparkle has gone out of it. You can drink better from the hollow of your hands kneeling by a brook. In China we bottle it with mystic writings and flavor it with cinnamon and spices. Here it is bottled without any regard to the water, but with punctilious care as to the shape of the bottle. I go always to the brook." "You are a queer devil," said Tab, surveying the other curiously. Yearling did not answer for a while, and then he said, Is there any news about the murder of Brown? No, said Tab. Where was he, Yearling? He was in a smokehouse, said Yearling without hesitation. I took him there at the request of my patron, Mr. Trasmere. The man had come over to give him trouble, and Trasmere wanted me to look after him and see that he didn't make himself a nuisance. Apparently Brown had these bouts, and then recovered, as opium smokers sometimes do, with a distaste for the drug. He must have recovered very suddenly, and was gone before I could stop him, and before the man who owned the house could let me know. I searched for him, but he disappeared, and I heard no more about him until I read in the papers that he was dead. Tab was thoughtful. Had he any friends? You knew him in China? Yearling nodded. Was there anybody who had a particular grudge against him? Or against Trasmere? Many, said the other. I, for example, did not like Brown. But apart from you? Yearling shook his head. Then you have not the slightest idea who was the murderer? Again the inscrutable gaze of Yearling met his. I have an idea, he said deliberately. I know the murderer. I could lay my hands upon him without the slightest difficulty. The end of chapter 25.